So late on, during my time at Top Gear, there was an unusual sort of, what do we call it, test that came up. It seemed like a very long way from home. We're going to go out to Abu Dhabi to organise this, partly because of the length of road that was required for a pretty punchy drag race. So McLaren F1, this is the people's favourite, versus the Bugatti Veyron, sort of the modern bruiser. And so we went out. The beauty of Abu Dhabi is they can just shut down the roads. They do it pretty regularly when they've got heads of state moving around, and so they just make stuff happen. So logistically, it was a great place to shoot because we could get complete control, lock that section of road off, and go for it. But actually, there was a lot of planning stages building up to it because particularly with Michelin, their engineering is amazing and they monitor everything very carefully. With the Bugatti, with the big speeds and the weight and everything, aerodynamic forces, they were very cautious about any damage to the tyre at high speed. And the one sort of thing about the road section, so I was involved with sort of planning out, looking at where it was going to go, was the cat's eyes. So cat's eyes can be quite a problem. At around 200 miles an hour, they reckon that if we'd hit a cat's eye, it could compromise the tyre, it could damage the sidewall because they were big old thumpers. So that was one thing we had to be really cautious about. And it was basically, we just had to write into the safety assessment that if anyone struck a cat's eye, that we would have to stop, there'd be a tyre inspection or a replacement. But basically, don't hit the cat's eyes. And they were really well spaced out, so the risk of doing it was fairly low likelihood. Having established that, we had the McLaren. So this was Rowan Atkinson's car, beautiful car. Would you call it aubergine? I think is probably the colour. So sort of maroon colour. I'll probably be shouted down in the comments for my descriptions. Anyway, magical car. You get in that is like a fighter plane from the 90s. The buttons and it's so beautifully laid out, and because you're in the middle, you feel so important. It's like a throne. You've got the seats either side, but you are absolutely central to it, like a fighter pilot. I think that's for so many reasons, but that sense that you get in the cockpit possibly is what's driven the values to sort of these stratospheric heights. So I was very proud to be flying the flag for that car because it's a really special bit of kit. Before I went out, Rowan Atkinson, we were doing some shooting with him in his car, and he was down at the track. And he said, he wants to have a word with you. I was like, cool. So he came across. So talking to Rowan about his car, it's like someone handing you their child. You're going to look after it for a week. It needs to eat certain things and da-da-da. I really felt the responsibility was being placed very much on my shoulders. It's all very well with the forms and the dockets and everything like that, and talking to a producer, it's like, we'll look after it. So it's like, you are driving it, so you are responsible, I think was the intimation I was getting through from the eyes and the sort of specific nature. I think I heard most of what he said. I think largely I was sitting in the car at the time and just sort of in awe, looking at all the gauges and just being pretty mesmerised by it. And I believe I was wearing my helmet at the time because I still, couldn't reveal my identity to Rowan. So I was trying to listen to him as he was softly spoken and kind of talking me through his baby, basically. And actually, when he's talking privately, he's hesitant and he stammers his way through. I suppose he was suffering from separation anxiety with the car, which I don't blame him for that. Particularly though, launches. I was only allowed to do 2 starts because the clutch, if you rev too hard and you slip the clutch, you'll burn it out and it's extremely expensive, so fair enough. So I thought, right, and so I was allowed to do 2 launches. Camera crew understood that as well because camera folks love to do things more than one time, repetitive starts and everything. But actually, come the day, I only needed 1. So we got out into the desert, unbelievably hot. I think every single human being that worked on that shoot got sunstroke. I didn't think that I had sunstroke until I was in the airport at the end, and I realised I was lying on the floor, on the marble on the floor to try and cool my head, which felt like it was starting to explode. It's amazing how sunstroke creeps up on you, and I was in the car most of the time. Anyway, I was stomping around in my Stig suit, got into the McLaren. Richard Hammond was in the Bugatti, doing his bits to camera and everything, and you just see the air just melting above the engine. Bugatti was not happy in these conditions. For the sake of defending the honour of the F1, thought this is good. This is looking good for the naturally aspirated car. Anyway, I got a really good start with it, so I didn't actually launch it twice. I just said it's never going to get off the line better than I've just done it, or I can't get it off the line any better. I can't remember how many revs, but somewhere mid-range, and I've always been good at doing starts in motorsport. I've always loved it. With the McLaren, you've got enough power to get it about right. So despite the fact that it was rear-wheel drive, I made a really quick drop on the clutch, which was, ironically, is good for it. If you drag the clutch, the plates spin against each other, they get really hot, really angry, you get some smoke, a bad smell, and a huge invoice. So I dropped it, didn't get instant wheel spin, but it lurched forward and then chattered. I could just hear the rear wheels chattering, like, which meant the revs didn't drop, which is perfect. So I stayed right in the power band and shot off. I'm expecting the Bugatti just to roll straight past me. So Richard used the launch control, all 4 wheels, 1,000 horsepower, bang, off it went. The McLaren actually beat it off the line, which was good. And up to about 90 miles an hour, I was in front. So maybe beyond that to about 100, 110 or so. And then just the volume of power, the Bugatti just thundered past it. But we weren't done. It was a race to, I can't remember if it was down on distance, but I got to about 185 miles an hour, whereupon I felt the car starting to lift, and I could have spun the thing with a fingertip. If you aren't holding it straight, it becomes, really unstable. Is not fair to say that, but very floaty. And you really need to be cautious with any if there was a movement in the road or an undulation, something like that would have started to create a weight imbalance, and you could have been on a journey into the desert that you weren't expecting. So it was quite cool, and I didn't expect to get that experience. It was a pretty unique thing to get. I mean, who gets to drive a McLaren like that? So that was mega. But I lost. Richard won the race. I still thought that we defended the honour pretty well, but I did hear, whether this is true or not, that Ron Dennis nevertheless complained that the McLaren had lost and felt that it could have beaten the Bugatti. I'm really not sure it was. I don't know any mathematical chance of it ever winning that contest, but I love his passion for the brand and the car, and I can see why. And I think actually when I was racing in Formula 3, one of my engineers told me that he was the first person to write off a McLaren F1 when he worked there. I think they took it out. Everybody else at the company was excited, and he obviously was excited and got excited at a roundabout and tore the car in half. So I think there were a few that got lost in the early development of the car, and then tragically Rowan smashed his car, and rest is history. But it was great to be able to drive that thing, and I couldn't believe that it was transported on in a metal container all the way out to the Middle East for that shoot. It was amazing that he had the faith in us to let us look after his machine. But it was really a special time driving it.
When you're buying a pre-owned car, it is critical to get a professional mechanic to inspect it every time. And so the Lemon Squad is the easiest way to do that and the most affordable. Generally within 24 or 48 hours, they can get somebody on site anywhere in the country with their nationwide network of trained professional mechanics that are gonna give you a ton of pictures and a full report of exactly what's going on with this car. It's a great way to avoid scams, and it's a great way to get a very clear picture of the car that you're buying, and this ammunition can make you the shrewdest negotiator of all. It also makes the drive home a whole lot easier and keeps a little bit more money in your pocket, and I know that you'll love the results from the Lemon Squad. So check them out now at the link in the description below for a special discount and to make sure that you're buying the car that you think you are.